How has God impacted you as a father?
My daughter literally saved my life because I was out here in the streets just wilding out. All the trials, struggles, tribulations. It was rough.
It giving me grace, right? It's giving me the ability to have patience. And I have two daughters. They're emotional. It's challenging to do that when you have daughters because they need a special love.
I don't even know what I'm doing with myself, but yet I'm responsible for a whole other human being. But like I said, with God, that's the only way I made it through.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast, and happy Father's Day. Today's episode, as you can probably imagine, has a bit to do with fathers, and we did it a little bit differently. We called some fellas who have children, asked them some questions, and in this episode today, you're going to hear some stories of their challenges, of their vision for the future, and of how they overcome some of the difficulties that come with being a father. I think this could be an episode that inspires you, motivates you, and could give you a bit of wisdom on how to be a better father, maybe yourself. So if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of every new episode. And without further ado, let's get into the show.
Hey, welcome. As you can see, we got a full house here today. We're going to start at the very, very end. We have Calvin. And y'all know Mike from Today for Tomorrow. He here today. You know Anthony, he's been here before as well too. And Brian, hey, we got him in the house.
Newcomer.
And you're gonna be seeing these two individuals a little more. So Cal and Brian don't realize it, but now they've been drafted, all right?
First round.
Inducted, first round. So look, you know what? It's Father's Day, and we know fathers don't get the love they deserve, but every brother up here, except me, is a father. So, and they all come at it from different angles and different experiences of the father. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. So look, guys, the first question out the gate is this. It's straightforward. We might spend all our time on this one question, but if we don't, that's fine. How has God and your relationship with God impacted you as a father? Now, I understand that everybody's different places. You early on, you might be in one place, today you might be at another, but how has God played a role as a father for you? And either one, I'm gonna pick on Mike first, since he's been around this type of stuff before. Let me put him on a hot plate first, though. So Mike, how has God impacted, shaped you as a father?
That's a great question. I would say God has impacted me with my relationship with my kids in the sense that humility. It provides a constant reminder of the humility relationship that I need to have with God first as a parent, but then also it flows down to my kids. And the reason why I say humility is because what I found, and I have some great kids, but my kids, they kind of wired to do what God put in them. And to be honest, it's kind of a little bit of a revelation to me, because I was like a lot of other parents in the beginning. I'm thinking, oh man, my kids are gonna be like this. I got XYZ planned out. I'm looking at other people's situation like, man, what's up with y'all kids? Y'all, I don't know, man. I get my kids, they gonna be doing XYZ. And little, unbeknownst to me, we were gifted with my oldest son, Logan. Now, Logan has an amazing personality. He also has a personality where at times he believes what God put in him much more than he believes what I'm trying to tell him in that moment. Mm. And the reason why I had to make my peace with this, going back to how I started with the humility thing, is he surprised me in certain things. Because in the beginning, I used to think, no, you're going to listen to me because I'm the parent. This is how my dad did me, and I had to listen. And so I'm going to keep the tradition going. Mm. But by me being more and more open to God showing me, listen, and it's not just with my kids, it's with life. You have a lot less control than you like to believe that you have. And so I have to constantly consult with God before I go parent my kids in order for it to run fruitfully.
Right out the gate, anybody else want to either comment on what Mike stated or kind of give your own view? Calvin, I see you nodding your head over there. What's your thoughts,
man?
man?
It's hard to come after a guy like Mike. But man, for me, it's it giving me grace, right? It's giving me the ability to have patience, right? As a young man who is sports driven, and I have two daughters, so I have a 17-year-old now and a 10-year-old, and they're emotional young ladies. And from someone that plays sports and is a go-getter, I was result driven, and it's challenging to do that when you have daughters because they take they need a special love. In order to have that love, you got to have grace, and you got to be able to redirect my thoughts, my emotions, and I had to rely on God to be able to give me that strength to have understanding when they are feeling a certain type of way or when they're emotional. Because I feel like, hey, if something was happening at school or something was happening at dance, then brush it off and get over it. Like, let's move on to the next play, perhaps. But with young ladies, it's different. You have to really sit there and listen to them and consult them, and that's I'm still only able to do that just through my relationship with the Lord and having grace and Him giving me guidance to redirect them in a time of need.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
I think these guys have given great examples, and it's all true, and I think it fits all of us in some way. But when I think of it, my kids are a little older. So when you think from start back then when they were born, or I
thought you were the same age as them, man.
You look like
Don't embarrass them. So, but actually before they were born, I was one way. I always believed in God. But after I had kids, something came over me even more that I'm raising these boys, and one day they're going to become men. And I need to set the best examples that I can and be godlike and set examples. So I know I changed.
Wow.
I know I changed. When they were born, from that moment on, I knew that I had to be a different person.
Yeah. No.
So as both you guys were saying, the things you do is still by example, and you have to have patience. Right. And you, like I said, you were sports driven. And I know what you mean. You're a go-getter, you're emotional, hyper, you get caught up in the moment. But with the kids, you have to show patience. You have to show love, because everything you do, they're watching. And the best way to get results from them is to be driven from God. And think twice before you do something. Well, try to think twice before you do something. But I know for me, when those guys were born, I knew right then I got to be more mellow, try to have more patience, and just let God lead me. So that's my perspective.
Hey, Brian, you the cleanup hitter now, man. So
right,
you
gonna have me follow that. I get a little emotional when I think about fatherhood and the role that I play as a father. My daughter literally saved my life because I was out here in the streets just wilding out. And, it's something special about a daughter. And God knew I needed a daughter to, calm me down, to soften me, and prepare me for the journey ahead. So, I've been a parent longer than I've been an adult. My daughter was born when I was 19. So all the trials, struggles, tribulations. I was a single parent for 3 years. It was rough,
Well, I want you to talk about that a little bit too, because here's the thing, and look, everybody just watching, because we know what the media portrays, and that's one reason why, as 4 Black fathers sitting down here today, and you saying you was a single dad, man for one, Black man too. I just want to elaborate that for a minute, because I want to make sure people understand this is the norm, y'all. This is not the exception. This is the norm. But go ahead, elaborate on that a little.
So, no shade to her mom. God prepares people according to the mission that he needs them to take. So he was preparing me in that time span to be able to man up and do what I needed to do to take care of her in the way that I needed to take care of her. I didn't even know what all I needed because I've never been a single parent before. So that 3-year-old to 6-year-old period, it was really crucial because they still need you to pretty much do everything for them. They're not self-sufficient. So I'm still doing baths. I'm still cooking and feeding her, doing homework with her. I didn't go to bed till after everything was done with her. Homework, food, bath, bed. It's 10 o'clock at night, and now I got to do everything I need to do for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, get her ready, start over, and then go knock on somebody's door at 5 o'clock in the morning, hoping that they get up because I got to be to work at 6 o'clock. So doing that day in and day out, it was a lot. And I give women a tremendous round of applause because they do it every single day. What they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, it ain't gonna be a second time. But the things that I had to endure during that time frame, it was only God that kept me and led me through, some of those challenging moments, from kindergarten, preschool, first grade, it was a lot. And to be able to experience that and know what our women go through in raising one child, let alone multiple children, I couldn't even imagine because I was struggling with the one. When the summertime came and she was able to go back to her mom, it was like, thank you, Jesus. Just to have that little break, you know what I'm saying, to refocus, have some time for self and regroup for the next, school year to come about. So,
man, everybody's giving you your flowers, man. Congrats, man. Job.
I appreciate it. It was one of the most challenging and one of the most rewarding opportunities and experiences I've had.
Man, when you made a statement when you said you've been a parent over half your life, and just put that in perspective. I'm each one of you in different phases of that walk as parents, and we're gonna do like a little quick rapid fire here for a minute because I just want to. So I'm gonna ask you guys, just give me a couple words when you think about your kids. We're gonna do a rapid fire, just a couple words. I'm gonna give you a moment. I'm talking to give you time to think about it. What would those couple words be to kind of describe how you feel about your kids or what you think about when you think about your kids? And I'll let whoever want to go first.
Selfless.
Selfless. Okay, selfless.
I'll say pure joy.
Pure joy.
Love of my life.
Love of your life.
Saving grace.
Saving grace. So I'd say that to say because, man, that's the first thing that come to mind, and you hear that. And, and we often, don't get me wrong, Mother's Day, we know women, we take care of the ladies, they get all the love, you can't get in the restaurants, you can't do none of that, right? But on Father's Day, you can go anywhere you want, no problem.
That's right.
And I think, this is an opportunity to kind of express ourselves, and you guys express yourself, because fathers don't do this often as much either. But those words that you came out was just boom. You didn't have to think about it long. And we talked about, being a godly father and so forth too. Now let's get into some meat here, because I know everybody like, hey man, that's all good. What y'all talking about, it sound great. But let's talk about some of the challenges now, okay, that come along with fatherhood. Because each one of you, I know, ain't no parent in this world don't have no challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you encounter as a father? And I'm looking at Cal, he got 2 daughters, so as a father of 2 daughters, what are some of the things that you kind of alluded to a little bit having daughters, how you deal with them, but what are some of them?
I think for me, the number one feeling is emotions. I think, and my daughter, especially my oldest daughter, she's just like me when I was her age, and I didn't realize it until later on where she's an introvert. She's very quiet, she's very soft-spoken. She has her friends. I'm trying to get her out that bubble because I know what the world looks like. I know when she has to walk into a room, how she has to interact with people. And I'm trying to teach her that. And my wife shares with me all the time, she's just doing everything that you did when you was in high school. And I think that's funny to me because it was challenging at first, and now I look at her like, man, she acts just like me, right? And I love it though, because she has that demeanor about her, like she's about her business. She's not playing no games. She knows what she wants in life, and that's the exciting part about it. It's nervous though too, from the standpoint that, you know, my baby about to get ready to go away and leave me and get ready to go to college, and she's about to go thousands of miles away from me. And I think we've had this conversation a couple of times. It's like, have I done enough to release and to be able to allow her to go into this world? And that's the emotional part that I'm dealing with and working with the Lord and praying for guidance. But I know she's ready. I know me and her mother has done a great job. But it's emotional just dealing with daughters. It's different when you got a boy. No offense, Mike. You can like tell him to go outside and play. But like, you know, with my daughters, I want her to go outside and have fun. But at the same time, I want to like know her whereabouts. You know, it's different from when I grew up, where I can go outside at 10 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't coming home till the street lights came on. But now I'm worried. I'm thinking about where she's at and all the different things that can be happening. So my mind is constantly just going.
Yeah.
I worry about my boys just as much as a daughter, because times aren't the same as they were when we grew up. Yeah, when we were young, we could go outside, don't eat breakfast. That's how early we would go outside. We wouldn't go back. We wouldn't go back in the house. We'll stop at the water hose and drink some water and keep on playing. Now, even with boys, you really can't do that. There's so many things happening. You always have to pay attention. So even to this day, for example, my son Caleb, he's 25. A couple of days ago, he came back from New York, and I'm calling him on the phone, making sure he's okay. He wasn't by himself, but I'm still calling him while he's driving. And when he ignores you, okay, maybe he's talking. I call back, say 45 minutes later, he doesn't answer. So now it's like, okay, wait a minute. What's going on? So I don't care if it's male or female, just as a father, you're always going to be concerned. Trust me, always. And when he was leaving, you say your prayers. God, please take care of these young men, be with them as they drive, et cetera, et cetera. So you know he's in good hands. But then there's the human side. Did he get enough sleep the night before? Did he stay up? Okay, he got up early to leave. Are his friends keeping everybody awake? And that's funny. Before they left, I said, you guys keep each other awake. And that's just the dad coming out. Yeah. I know you guys haven't quite got to that point yet, but trust me, you will.
Yeah. So piggyback on what you said, I always used to think about like when I was a young boy, and my granddad would always tell me like, you know, there's nothing out here past 10 o'clock, right? And that was just another way of him like fathering me and guiding me, like, because he was worried too, and he would always just put that in me to make sure like you get home by 10 o'clock because there's nothing but trouble out here, you know, later on and in the night hours. So I completely understand that, Anthony.
No, I want to just jump in on that too, because I think both of y'all bringing up great points. And it's interesting for me because even though I have 4 sons, I grew up in a household with 3 sisters. So I know exactly what you mean, Cal, when, you know, growing up with the female energy, it can be, you know, just a little different. I ain't gonna say complicated, just a little different, right?
It's complicated.
It can be. He said it, not me.
My niece lived with us about 7 years. It's complicated. Go ahead.
But then, like what Ant was saying, where, you know, in my mind, I'll assume like, all right, I got 4 boys, you know, I'm gonna just let them just go at the world. But he's absolutely right, where it's like I had the same concerns and worries for my boys because I believe what's in them. I know God put their mission in them. They have the tools already, but I also know we're living in a very corrupt world. And that's the part that keeps us on edge. It's just, like you said earlier, did I get them enough? You know, are they prepared? But the thing is, I was having a conversation with a woman that, you know, she's the mother of one of my best friends. So she seen me as a kid. And she really just kind of gave me a word just at the baseball game in passing. And she was just telling me, she was like, Mike, always remember, God already put their mission in them. He already has the plans. You know, Jeremiah 29:11, like, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans for good to prosper you. And I think that's the challenge as parents, and especially fathers, because we're wired to solve problems. We're wired to be protectors. We're wired to see things before they happen. So we always want to create this environment where our kids are straight. No, you straight because you with me. You know, you my kid. But the reality is, that's why I go back to that word humility. Is like, we got to stay humble enough to know we're somebody's kids. We all are father's kids. So it's like the control, we have a lot less control in this thing than we like to think. And we can't pray and worry. We got to choose a side. So that's the part where I would just say, for all of us, to be honest, as a reminder, you know, when our kids are living in this world, we can't stay prayed up and say we a true servant of God and we believe in everything in his word. But then on the flip side, we're worrying to the point where maybe this might not happen or maybe that could happen. It's like, you got to trust that either God willed it or God allowed it. And he going to allow them to get through it too.
Brian, you want to jump in here, man?
I'm gonna start going first. So it's totally different for me. I think I'm older than most of you guys here. Or at least
I feel good about that statement. Hey, we ain't even the youngest, right?
Well, as far as a parent, because your son is 25, my daughter be 25.
Okay.
So I literally was growing up as I'm raising a whole nother human being. So the challenges encased in that, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know what I'm doing with myself, but yet I'm responsible for a whole other human being. You know what I'm saying? So that's a totally heavy burden, you know, to carry. But like I said, with God, that's the only way I made it through. Right. You know, every Wednesday, every Sunday, she in tow, we at church. And, you know, of course, the ladies see it and they're like, oh, that's so sweet and things like that. But it didn't feel sweet. It was a heavy burden, but it was also a lot of joy wrapped up in that as well. And, you know, God gives us grace to complete the mission in which he's prepared us for. Somebody said that God is preparing us for what he already has prepared for us. So what is for us is already made available, but we have to become the person that we need to be in order to receive that, to take ownership of that. So as a 19-year-old dad, trying to figure out and navigate, you know, my own situations and trying to make sure that I'm providing for her. There's a lot of sacrifice that went into that as well, financially, emotionally, spiritually. It was a lot. And I don't want men out there that's fathering children to think that it's something to take lightly, because it's not. It's a huge responsibility. And I think we need to be more conscious of that fact and share the reality of it. It's not a light matter. It's not a laughing matter. It's very serious, that responsibility that we have as dads, because we're literally shaping a human being. You know, moms play their role and dads play their role, and it takes the two to shape that person to be a whole human being. So as fathers, we have to take our roles very seriously and seek God, because we don't know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? We got books. We got our parents. They did the best they could with what they had. But at the end of the day, it's God who leads, guides, and directs us in how we need to be for that particular child or those particular children, because every child is different. You know, I got a 24-year-old and I got a 10-year-old. You know what I'm saying? They're totally different, but oddly enough, they're like best friends. And I can only, you know, thank God for that, because I mean, 24 and 10, that's 14-year age gap, and they be rolling together like they're the same age. I don't know if he think he 24 or she thinks she 10, but they almost inseparable. And I just thank God for that bond that they have, and whatever part I played in that, I don't give myself much credit at all, but I just thank God for his presence in my life and his presence in theirs.
That's what's up. And actually, you said something that I think it is very unique. You were 19, and I was just reflecting when I was 19. And you talked about, you know, you growing up, you trying to figure yourself out while you being a parent and having this responsibility. So that is a whole different dynamic, and to the point, you know, God being at the center of all this. And I'm glad you spoke out and called out to young men out there today. Don't take it lightly, because unfortunately, a lot of young men do, old men too. But so, hey, we get into that time where we want to probably have to wind this part of this discussion down a little bit. But in closing, I just and real quickly, is each one of you can kind of give some advice, like a few words of advice for the brothers that are watching, even the women, the mothers that are watching too, because sometimes it's that lack of understanding of what a father is trying to do and what you feel like your role is in this process. And then, like you said, there's no instruction manual on being a father. So if you got some words to kind of say, hey, look, some that helps you as a father, that you can give advice to.
I'm going
somebody.
first.
Okay, Brian called the shot. Okay, go ahead.
First and foremost, I think it's seek God first in all that you do, especially as a parent, because we don't have all the answers, but God does. He'll lead, God, and direct you in the way in which you should go, that you would not depart from it. And we have to raise our children with the fear of God so that they have something to refer back to when they get challenged and they face challenges in life. Because again, we don't have all the answers, but if we allow the Spirit to work within us as we're parenting them, and then hopefully that Spirit will transfer onto them as well and be able to lead, God, and direct them as they make their decisions and as they go out into the world to face whatever challenges and difficulties that they may face. To the women, if I could say anything, is let men be a part of their children's lives. There's all types of different men in the world. Some are great, upstanding men. Others need some work. But regardless to where they fall on that spectrum, children need their fathers, right? Just like they need their mothers. So if there's a man that wants to be a part of that child's life, as long as he's not endangering that child, let that man be a part of that child's life, because it's going to shape them in a way in which they need to be shaped, or it's going to traumatize them in a way that they don't need to be traumatized. Gotcha. And there's a lot of work that has to go into undoing that damage, especially if that father wanted to be there. Let that man be a part of his child or children's life.
Real talk. I know everybody got a lot to say, so we're going to be closing out. So Brian, he's getting his time in now. So, so go ahead, Ed.
I just want to say one thing with what you said, then I'll say what I want to say. It takes a man to completely shape a child as well as a woman. And I'll leave it at that. You guys can imagine the rest of what I was going to say. But what I was going to say was, and there can be a number of different things that I could say, but I'll just say, have patience with that child, because that's still another human being. And you have to understand, we were all in that same place at one time. And you also have to understand, they're a child. They're not 21, so the things they may say or do is not what you think they should say or do, but they're honest and they're being a child. So have patience and teach and be godlike when talking to a child.
I want to double down on what these brothers are saying, where the best piece of advice any of us, I think, can give is seek God first in everything that we do. That's going to be the template, But the next piece of advice I would say is the best sermon that you can preach is the one that you live daily, because a lot more lessons are caught than they are actually taught or, told. Meaning just the way you be a man, the way you live your life. Don't think that, how we heard at some points, do as I say, not as I do. That stuff doesn't work. It never really worked, but it really doesn't work with this generation of kids, because they have access to too much information. Yeah. As soon as you tell them something, they see you do something, they can literally consult with the internet and just get all types of feed. It's going to cause a lot of confusion with these kids. So you really got to be a stand-up man. And in a lot of ways, you have to unlearn some of the things that we were taught. We grew up on a different template, just being honest. It wasn't any fault necessarily of our fathers and grandfathers. It was just a different template. We didn't have access to so much information. So that's the main thing. The last piece I want to double down on is what the brothers were saying, where it takes multiple roles to raise a complete kid. You know, you need the father dynamic, but you also need the mother dynamic. And I would go a little further and say you need a complete village to raise these kids, where, you know, like I've reached out to these different brothers at times, like, listen, you know, I want to bring my son around this. I want to, you know, bring him to the mentor session so he can be in that environment, because I believe that your kids need to learn how to listen to other trusted voices, not just yours. Because there's going to be a point where they're going to start looking outside and they want to hear different lessons, not from you. So we got to be willing to make sure they're surrounded by the right type of village.
All right, Cal.
Be vulnerable. Right? I think be open with your child and let them know that you don't have all the answers as a parent. And just as they're learning how to be a child, to Brian's point, we're learning together in regards to fatherhood. So being very open and honest with your child is going to be very key. And then picking and having a connection with, especially to my young men out there, picking the right woman to decide to have a child with, right? Because like Mike said, Brian said, it takes a village to raise them, but it's so hard for a young man to be present in someone's life if the mother is not on the same page with them. So making sure that, you know, as you start dating, you finding the right person, you guys are both in line with God. And then if a child comes through that relationship, then you guys attack it together. Because if you don't have, if you're not on the same page, it can just make things a lot harder. And it's only going to impact the kid for a longer period of time. So picking that person is very key. But most importantly to me, going back to the child, being open and just communicating with your child, and then being apologetic to them. Like, hey, I don't have all the answers to this, but I'm gonna figure this out. And so a lot of times, going back to the old school, you know, we would act like we knew everything. I'm the parent, I know this, right? And knowing that wasn't the case at all. You know, you had that feeling in your stomach, like, I just told my child something, but I know that's not the right answer. But I'm the parent, so it is what it is.
Martial
right?
law.
Yeah, but, you know, just being open and honest with them, like, hey, look, I'm dealing with this just as you are, and we're gonna get through it, and we got God on our side, and we'll be all right.
All right. And look, this has been actually great, awesome. Now look, we're gonna be part 2 to this too, by the way. But we're gonna end right there. So everybody, look, thank you for joining today for Tomorrow podcast. And we thank the brothers on this panel right here today. You know, hey, Calvin, Mike is always on. Martell will be back later, but we have fathers. Martell's not a father yet, and he ain't rushing till they get there, okay? We got Brian. So we thank you for joining us, but we want to also let you know every brother up here is part of Man 2.0 as well, too. So second Saturday of the month, we invite you out to come join us, okay? Yes. Join us, 28202 Franklin Road. Hey, iron sharpen iron. We sharpen each other here. You see what type of brothers attend. Hey, ladies, if you got a brother in your life or a man in your life you think can benefit from him, hey, tell them to come join us. And brothers, what you waiting for? Come on out, find out what it means to be a real man based on what God's told us to do. Amen. With that, hey, peace.
Peace.